Imagine yourself in this situation. Your housemate's been seeing this guy for a few weeks, they've gone on a couple dates, she hasn't completely made up her mind how she feels about him yet, but things seem to be going pretty well. But after her most recent date with him, she barges into your room and tells you that it's completely and utterly over. You ask her what's with this sudden change of heart, and she tells you that over their date, he made her watch a 3-minute video of him shadowboxing. And she completely got the ick. Obviously, you understand, it's kind of an awkward and uncomfortable situation to be in, watching somebody fake punch the air for 3 minutes. But later that night, you're up wondering, why do we get the ick, and if there's anything that we can do about it. So the ick is a pretty new and colloquial term used a lot in social media, but it basically just describes feelings of sudden disgust or unattraction to a partner that you've been seeing. Some may call it a turnoff after seeing a specific behavior, but it's usually pretty indiscriminate. And this usually happens in the newer stages of a relationship. Now, let's go back to some Darwinian principles before we go any further. Sexual selection is kind of like natural selection in the mating world, where one sex has preferences for certain characteristics in another sex. And in the EEA, or the Environment of Evolutionary Adaptedness, we know for sure some traits made males more attractive to females. One of those is masculinity, higher masculinity being more attractive to women. Then we have social status in the same way. More social status, higher social status is more attractive. And finally, indications of good genes. These are physical indicators of attractiveness that means that you have healthy, strong genes to pass on. An example is symmetry, so usually lower fluctuating asymmetry means higher pathogen resistance. But the kicker here is these actually have no indication and no weight when it comes to modern day dating, and they're not really going to tell you whether someone's going to be a good partner for you in the long term. So what does modern research have to say about these traits? For masculinity, men in Western societies especially, and young men are adopting what's called a contemporary masculinity. They're not abandoning traditional masculinity entirely, but they are being more emotionally vulnerable with their female counterparts. They're showing more physicality, so more intentional touching, like hugging with other men. They're being more inclusive to traditionally marginalized groups, like women and gay people. Next, for indicators of good genes, there's a lot of ways that we can go about this, but I think one of the most relevant to us is facial attractiveness. And there's research showing that facial attractiveness actually has zero correlation with your semen quality, which is basically the quality of genes that you have to pass on. And finally, social status still does seem to have a little bit of weight, but it's not as important as we think it does, and it really varies culture to culture and age to age, with more traditional cultures valuing more higher social status. So what actually is helpful if you're feeling kind of lost right now? Research dating back from the 90s, being replicated over the years in almost 37 different countries, has shown that the top traits that are desirable for both men and women are these. So a mutual attraction or a shared love between you and your partner, somebody of dependable character who's going to be there for you through hard times, and somebody who is emotionally mature or stable, so someone who's going to match you where you're at your age level. This is actually what's important when it comes to dating. That's what's good to know. So if you're feeling lost, there we are. But how does this have to do with the ick, and how does it play out in real life? So you still have men who feel that men who are more attractive, maybe more masculine, and of higher social status, having better luck when it comes to dating women. And they try and overemphasize these traits. But the thing is, women aren't actually attracted to these traits for the most part because they don't really carry any weight when it comes to choosing a partner. Then, women incorrectly attribute these traits to the men that they're seeing instead of the social factors that are getting them to act this way, and that's what finally leads us to feelings of the ick. Now, let's take a look at how this plays out in real life if you're still feeling confused. I'm sure you've all seen Tinder fish pics, and while some men may be really proud of their accomplishments as these great masculine hunters, most women it's not really relevant and they don't care. At best, it's kind of funny, and at worst, they're just like, ew, moving on. And I'm sure some of you have seen American Psycho and you're familiar with Patrick Bateman's really intensive skincare beauty regimen. Some guys may look at this and go, wow, he's hot, and he's even hotter because of his 18-step skincare routine. But most women recognize this as a caricature of a man who cares way too much about the way that he looks. And finally, some of you have been out on Hess, I'm sure, and have seen guys pretending to know bouncers trying to get into clubs. We all know you don't know him, and honestly, it's really embarrassing, so please stop. So these are examples of how the ick plays out in real life. So what do you do if you're looking for love in 2024? Don't worry, there's still hope. My best advice for you is to simply be yourself. I know it sounds really cheesy, but there is someone out there who's going to appreciate you for the genuine face that you show the world, and you don't have to rely on evolutionary-based alpha male tactics to find a girlfriend. Thank you.